And we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 87 of the Tiki Taka Podcast. I'm your host, Peter, and I wanted to start off the podcast by wishing Benfica happy birthday. They are 114 years old today, so got that out of the way. Anyway,
114 or 112?
114, my dear friend. Not like you
It's
guys in
1906, isn't it?
1993. No, and you guys are in 1893, yeah.
I thought it was 1908.
All right, move on.
Yeah, why not? 1914 now. Why not? Anyway, I'm joined by Cynthia.
Hi. Hopefully Benfica has some red velvet cake. Woohoo!
I knew it. I knew it. She was gonna say. I was waiting on her to say something with red velvet. I just knew that was coming.
It's a birthday cake, Peter. Whatever you do with red velvet on your own time is your own business.
Oh my goodness gracious. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm joined by Bruno.
Happy birthday, and make sure you have your own red velvet cake.
This is not going to be a good podcast.
It's going to be great.
Patrick.
Hello.
There we go. See,
cake.
Patrick, you're disappointed, man.
Thank you.
You're disappointed, Patrick.
Hello.
Unbelievable. All right. So anyway, let's get this show on the road, and we gotta start with the with Sporting's game against Astana. So Patrick, do your own thing, the lineups, all that. What you thought about the game? Get us going.
Yeah. So obviously, Sporting deciding to start this one with a few first team players, despite the circumstances. So Patricio in goal, Coentrão at left back, Mathieu and André Pinto at the heart of defence, with Rostovski playing at right back, midfield of Palhinha and Bataglia, Brian Ruiz on the left, Ruben Ribeiro on the right, and to round off the attack, Bruno Fernandes with Bastos as target man. And it was one of those games where really, Sporting leading 3-1, he just wanted a controlled performance. And I felt, apart from a few instances at the start, I think Astana started strong again, hitting the post and whatnot. Apart from a few instances in the first half, I thought Sporting controlled the game pretty well. We got the lead early on through Bastos, which of course helped. Astana then equalised and, probably gave Astana a bit of belief about the game, but I think overall Sporting did well to tame their expectations. And second half, we started strongly. Obviously, that big goal from Bruno Fernandes really took the wind off Astana's sails by then, and then he followed that up with another goal in the 63rd minute. So 2 goals in the space of 10 minutes. It was a good moment for Sporting. I think that really, from Sporting's point of view, psychologically, I think that's where Sporting really won the game. Obviously, it would have been nice to have won. I say that meaning Astana eventually got their second and third to equalise the game. But I'm not too disappointed. I know there are a lot of fans, Sporting fans, that come away disappointed having drawn that game. But to me, Astana end up scoring 2 stunners, which I personally have no complaints over. And, to me, the most important thing was essentially to go through. That's what Sporting did, and that's what I'll keep my eyes on. Obviously, it would have been nice to win because you get a little bit extra cash for wins and whatnot, but really that's where the buck ends for me. The important thing was to get the result. I'm more annoyed with Bastos getting injured, as I'm sure we'll come on to. That was really my gripe with the game, but other than that, I was pretty satisfied with it all. And we look on to another interesting tie against Victoria Plzeň.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that the tie was done, and as soon as Sporting got their goal, I was just like, I'm not watching this. So, I mean, I'll take your word for what you said. But I'm pretty sure that most likely Bruno watched it, so I don't know if he wants to weigh in on this Astana game.
I mean, I saw a little bit of the game. The only thing that I got to say that was disappointing was that Sporting wasn't able to pull out the win so we can get the 3 points for the coefficiency, because we really needed those 3 points. I think Sporting rotated some guys. I still think they didn't rest enough guys. Cableda's all pissed off that he burnt out Bas Dost. Now he's coming around saying that he's got these visions of the future. I don't know what crystal ball was that he was looking into, but I guess he didn't see that Bas Dost got hurt or was going to get hurt. But I think overall, Sporting played well. Last 10 minutes, you cannot let a team like Astana tie you, especially at home. But that's really what it was. I mean, it was basically kind of just playing out the tie, and that's pretty much it. Just kind of keep it moving. And now you got a favorable draw against Victoria Pleasant, and I think ESPN has predicted Sporting to at least finish in the top 4 in the Europa League. So they plan on getting they predict that they're going to get to the semifinals, which is a little surprising.
There are a lot of teams that I don't know if Sporting can go through them, but whatever.
Well, no, I think they can. I mean, because a lot of big teams play one another, so that helps a team like Sporting and other teams.
Okay, fine, but like either the winner of the Arsenal AC Milan tie, is gonna be always a very dangerous opponent, for example, and teams like Leipzig, are still in
Red Bull.
So.
Red Bull Leipzig, I would agree. I don't know about Arsenal or Milan, because Milan is struggling heavily in Italy.
They've
and
won
Arsenal,
like what, 5 or 6 games in a row, something like that.
Yeah, but they're still how many points behind first place? I mean, that's
but
when
you're making a massive recovery, though.
Well, they're not going to recover anything. I mean, listen, they're
not
going to
finish first, but you know what I'm saying. They're actually climbing up the table, is what I mean.
I don't even think they're going to finish in the top 4. I mean, with that investment that they made, they should be competing for the Scudetto, and they're not. And they should be, I mean, obviously it's a tough draw against Arsenal for sure. But, this is a team that should be one of the favorites to win the Europa League. And I don't even know if they're going to beat Arsenal, because Arsenal, I think, just has better players. But that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But Arsenal can't get in form either, so.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to applaud the Arsenal fans that showed up on Arsenal TV, and they just bashed the club because they were
Can we not talk about Arsenal TV, please?
They were so angry at the decisions that board has made and whatnot. I mean, it was fun to watch. It was good to see how supporters care about their club. But I still don't understand I don't know if Wenger has a flash drive on the owners of Arsenal, but I don't know how he keeps his job.
Just a quick, Bruno, do you know who owns Arsenal?
I can't remember.
Well,
it's an American guy, right?
Yeah, it's the same guy that owns the Rams. So, I mean, that could tell you a little bit about their management, right?
Yeah, but they still don't invest as much money as Man City or a team like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, moving on. Cynthia, did you pay attention to this game? I heard you were trying to find it on TV, and it took forever.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it wasn't on Sporting TV, because I have that too, and it wasn't there. So I was like, maybe the media are against BDC. There was a blackout. But eventually I found it on like BN TV or whatever. And I did miss I don't know, maybe 15 minutes at the beginning, but I thought Patrick summed it up perfectly. And I feel like I wish they would have focused more to just get a win rather than the tie, just because I do like the coefficient, right? Like I'd prefer for that to be higher, but I know some people don't care for that. So, but otherwise Sporting did well. They come out of it and they continue on. So good for them.
I agree with Cynthia. That, a lot of more people should start worrying about the coefficient, because we're in danger of dropping into 9th, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
And if we drop to 9th, we're not going to see anything in terms of Europe. We're going to have a lot of problems.
And the way we complain about money as is, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was looking at it yesterday. They Ujoku released an article of how the coefficients are looking, and if the Portuguese clubs, and I'm talking about outside the big three, don't pick it up, and they don't start winning some games, we're going to really be in a lot of trouble in the next couple of years. You think that we're going to be forced to sell now?
But what if we just make what if we just make 2 years in a row, like like Benfica and Porto make it to the round of 16 and Sporting makes it to like the quarterfinals of the Europa League? Wouldn't that immediately help us massively?
No, because that's only 3 teams, and you're dividing it by 5 to 6 teams. So if these other teams don't pick it up, that's what's killing our coefficient, is that, they go round 1, they play 2 games, and then they're out. And then you're dividing the points by 6 every time. And that's what's been killing the Portuguese coefficient, is these other teams. Yeah, you want to qualify, but you get there and you don't do nothing.
The coefficient even kills Jonas, right? Because Jonas is top scorer right now, and he has...
Yeah.
And I know, people are like, oh, well, he's Benfica. Fine. Take off the Benfica shirt. What if it was Bas Dost? What if it was whoever you want to say for Porto?
It was Bas Dost last year.
Yeah, and Bas Dost was right in the middle of it.
And that's what I'm saying. They're top for us. They're top for our league. They actually have more numerically than the others. But because of our coefficient, they get screwed out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be great for those other teams, too. I'm just saying, like, I was just saying Bas Dost just because I know some people... I've had people comment, oh, it's not my team. I don't care. I don't care if Benfica shits. And I'm like, well, you say that, but we need to help each other outside of our Liga. And even in the Liga, if we could all come together, the refs would have to do their job. The Liga would have to do their job. The VAR would work. So enough of the, I'm going to fight you because I'm red and you're green. No, stop that shit. Get together and let's fix it.
I have my own views on the European side, and it's just, I don't care if you win, but I'm not going to root for you to win. That's just how I am. Like, you won.
I'm not
good
saying
for you,
I come downstairs and I jump around with the scarves. No, but I hope that they do well. Come on.
Are you saying that you wear green cuecas when Sporting is playing?
Green velvet. Do you mind?
Oh, got it. I'm sorry.
Nope, no velvet in this house.
But you do wear green. Okay, I got it.
No green.
Understood. But I mean, listen, Braga got a good win, but unfortunately, we were at pace at 4th at one point, and then we just completely collapsed, and now we're closer to drop to 9th than we are closer to getting to 6th.
Sucks, man.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think the depth is there for Portugal, for example, to compete against. What was the French league? The French league ended up overtaking the Portuguese league. I don't think the depth realistically is there, because if you look at the likes of PSG, who are PSG are miles ahead of anyone. They're one of the top teams around the world. Only once you get into like the Lyons and the Marseilles and like Saint-Etienne, teams like that, that's more like our level. Even then, like Lyon and Marseille are probably capable of going just as far as we are or more. I'm not sure. On the bad year, we could catch. On a bad year for France, we can catch their league. But away from that, I think our competition is more the Dutch league, the Russian league, and I don't think there's a huge like. Everyone says, "Oh, the coefficients." I don't think there's like a huge. What do you call it? I don't think it's a huge issue. I just think as history goes on, we'll end up 9th. Then we'll come back to 6th, and we'll be 5th. And I think that's just how it will turn out to be. And I don't think there's a deep rooted problem. Realistically, the Portuguese league just can't compete with like the top 5, for example. We've always been like the fringe championship, one of. So realistically, we're where we are and where I think we'll always be, and that's one year having a bad year, Benfica crashing out, Porto losing 5-0 against Liverpool, and that next year we could have 2 teams in the last 16, or one squeezing through to the quarters, even the semis, or who knows, one team winning the Europa League or getting far in that competition. That's the reality, and that we're under.
I think that you nailed the nail on the head. or the head. Well, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Long story short, I do believe that yes, I think Portugal is probably the sixth best team in Europe, sixth best league in Europe. I will argue that they're probably the fifth best league in Europe because
Yeah, I was about to say.
a lot of our clubs can actually beat the French teams, and now a lot of our clubs can beat the Italian teams. The Italian league only has really one team right now, which is the Juventus. Juventus right now is head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, yes, the league is still somewhat competitive right now with Napoli and everything like that, but I think that Porto could beat Napoli any given day of the week. And they can beat AC Milan, and they can beat Inter Milan, and they can beat Lazio and Roma, and so on and so forth. I mean, we've done it before, and we will do it again. And I think Benfica and Sporting can handle their own against those clubs too. The French league, the only thing that they have more than the Portuguese league is money.
That's a lot.
I agree with you.
I'm not sure. I still think the French league, in terms of competitiveness, even as you go
They're
down,
only about 2 to 3 teams. I mean, it's not like okay, so you got Lyon, you got Marseille, you got
for example,
PSG, and you got Monaco. There's like 4 teams. I don't.
yeah. But for example, I think if we're judging squad by squad on paper, PSG don't even come into the conversation. They're way ahead. I think Monaco, as a club, with the players that they've got, they're having a bad season, and of course they can come into the Champions League and lose to Benfica or Porto or whatever, and that sort of thing can happen. But I still think Monaco are. If you put Monaco in the Portuguese league, I think they're on a different level in comparison to the other big three. I think only when you drop to. I think only when you drop to Lyon and Marseille, only when you drop to those two is when you're really in the same wavelength as Sporting and Porto and Benfica. And then as you go down, I think there's always, to me, I just think the French league is always that little bit ahead. For example, I think Saint-Etienne, obviously they can lose to Braga, but I think they're a little bit stronger. You got teams like Lille who are struggling and all that, but if you play Lille are near the bottom, if you put Lille against another team that's near the bottom or even mid-table, I think Lille come out on top. And I just think,
but I think that the difference between the French and
I won't
the
even go
Portuguese
into the
league
Italian
is
league.
extremely even, though. Like in my opinion,
it
goes like what happens normally. If a Portuguese team finds a French league, it normally goes one game one way and the other game in the second game the other way. It's normally that. Course, you normally win at home and then you lose in France, or they might get a away win and then you win away. So it's not like there's a big discrepancy between both leagues. Like both leagues are extremely even. So.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I know that can happen. I just think that if you were to pin a French club against someone who on the table is of the same level as someone from the Portuguese club, obviously I think the team from Portugal can win. They could even go through, but I just think the quality, if this was to be a barometer, I think the quality would be pointing more towards the French league, and I fancy the French league to come out on top more times than I would the Portuguese team. That's just how I'm seeing the comparison. I think the French league is just that bit better. Of course, Portugal can come close in terms of coefficients, or they could even overtake, like that was the case a few seasons ago. That's not impossible, but I just think realistically, the leagues that we can look eye to eye on and get the better of are for sure the Turkish league, the Dutch league, teams leagues like that.
All right, so I guess we can move on now from the Sporting and the Europa League topic.
Lost your mind, did you?
Yeah, no, I was thinking because I was trying to figure out what message you had sent to me, and I was like, "What is this?" Anyway,
it's for Bruno.
Let's move on now. Yeah, I was like, what's this? Anyway, let's move on to Benfica then, because I believe that they were the next team to play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they played. Yep.
All right. So anyway, let me tell you that Benfica beat Paçoqueira 3-1. I believe I
They
had Benfica to
did?
2-1. I also believe that Patrick said that Benfica was going to get a winner near the end of the game, so he got that right as well. But anyway, let's get into the game. So let me give you the lineup real quick. So it was Bruno Varela in goal, André Almeida, Ruben Dias, Jardel, and Grimaldo across the back with Feza, Zivkovic, and Pizzi in the midfield, Rafa, Servi, and Jonas up front. Uh, I'm going to start by saying that Benfica didn't start the game well at all, and it was no surprise that they went down 1-0. I'm still extremely upset at Grimaldo for quitting on the play, because the one thing that you should do, just bring the guy down. It doesn't matter. Get the yellow. It's a good yellow. It's one of those useful yellow cards, right? I don't understand why he kind of quit on the play and started moving into the box instead of taking the guy out. But my dad just came in the room and completely interrupted me. Whatever. Anyway, the guy crossed the ball in, and the other, and I don't remember the name of the striker, but it's a very good shot, and he turns it in
Luis
for the
Felipe.
goal. There we go, Felipe. And then Benfica by the 30th minute started picking up. They started passing the ball a lot faster. They were doing a lot of movements, and it was obvious that Benfica was going to score, because they started to pile up the pressure and create a few opportunities. And it wouldn't surprise me for Benfica to be tied at halftime, but they weren't. But the second half was more of the same. It was all Benfica. It was just 45 minutes of dominance, and it's no surprise that we ended up winning by 3-1, where it could have been even more. It felt like the ball just didn't want to go in. Even in our first goal, Jonas like Raul shoots against Jonas, and then Jonas shoots the ball, and the ball hits the post and goes in, which it's ridiculous. But Benfica played a really good second half, and they deserve to win. Very happy for my boy Seferovic getting that assist to Jonas on a very good pass. Man of the match, Rafa for me. We're getting to the refereeing, but man, I should start writing things down, because I know Bruno is going to come up with some stuff probably, and I wish I would have stuff to say back, but I won't remember a lot of it. But I'm banking on you, Cynthia. So, Cynthia,
Oh no!
what did you think about this game? What? No, come on, you take notes. You take notes.
I did not this weekend. I know. I've lost a couple of
Unbelievable.
papers. Yeah, it happens. My son likes to go through my notebooks, and then I come down to do the pod, and I'm like, my notebooks are all gone. Great, thanks, boy. Anyways, I do remember I was super upset the entire first, I don't want to say the 45 minutes, but maybe like half an hour. I was like, what the hell is happening here? And then we went down a goal, which is just awesome. I even tweeted at Pat when we started coming up again, and Patrick says that I cursed him because I said it. I tweeted about it, and then it was 3-1, not just 2-1, because you just want to be right, I'm sure. But no, I was happy with the way that they started to figure out how to play with Seferovic up front and everything. I did not like how our guys seem to not play on the one side. Is it the right side? They just don't go up the right. And other teams know that, so they just block us from being able to go up the left. I mean, this is Pasos, and they stopped us. It's ridiculous. So we need to change that gameplay. And I know Raul was trying, but he kind of fell a little flat for me this game. And sorry to him, but you just did. Step it up a notch. And then... who else did I appreciate? I did not appreciate that Pizzi stayed on. The first sub off, I was really annoyed that Pizzi did not get subbed out. And I can understand that he wanted Pizzi's position, but Pizzi was having a shit game. Get him off. Tweak the positioning with the other guys if you need to, but get him off if he's not doing well, Who else was I okay with? Not Varela, but anyways. Yeah.
What?
That's all I want to say. I'm not okay with Varela, but we're not going to get into that.
Was that it?
Yep. And we won. That's it.
Okay.
Does it matter?
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I'll let Patrick go first, because I know Bruno's probably going to talk a lot. So I'll let Patrick share his thoughts on the game first. So.
Yeah, well, I had said beforehand, you can never underestimate these little teams at this stage of the season, let alone Paçoqueira. I know they're having a bad season by their standards, but going away to play them is always can always be a tricky moment for any team, and that's exactly the position that Benfica found themselves in. They got the goal pretty early, which is more often than not, it's essential for these little teams. They get the goal and then they can play the game on their terms, which is to be rigid, to frustrate their opponent, time waste whenever they can. Basically try to steal every moment psychologically. That's just what these teams are about, and I felt for a good period that Paços Ferreira were managing to do that. Obviously, Benfica grew gradually as the game went on. Not so much in the first half, but they still had their chances. I recall there was a chance at the end of the first half when Jonas sends a header at back post, and there's a goal line clearance there. That's a big moment for Paços Ferreira, and these situations sometimes they can eat away at the team that's chasing a win. It can be devastating at times, but fair play to Benfica. They freshened up a little bit at half time, and come the final 20 minutes is when we really started to see Benfica knock down the door. Obviously, the first goal was a bit fortunate, as you said, Raul. It was the Jimenez one where he shoots and Jonas intercepts and puts it away himself. That's big. That's a blow for Paços Ferreira to take, but still at 1-1. Game on for either side. And then further towards the end is when Seferovic, of all people, plays a ball into the box and Jonas tucks it away, and that's the stage where I thought Benfica would be.
What do you mean Seferovic out of all players?
Seferovic
You're on my radar now, Patrick.
Okay, I'll explain. Seferovic out of all players because I just simply don't rate the guy. I'm not sure he brings anything special into the game in terms of like attributes. I don't think he's a very technical player. He's okay technically. He's not very technical. He hasn't got a nose for goals. I know he was scoring a few at the start of the season, but where are they now? And that's probably why he's been on the bench for so long. I just personally never rated Seferovic as a striker, and for me to see a striker play a through ball like that, sort of limited striker, I would say, for him to pick out a pass like that, I wasn't expecting it to come from him. I was probably expecting a goal here or there, perhaps for him to get the second or something, but I wasn't expecting him to find a ball. That's simply what it was. But anyway, he did, and Jonas grabs the goal, and that's that's where I thought Benfica would be from the start. I thought they'd win 2-1 in a difficult game, and obviously Cynthia went and ruined everything and tweeted, "Yeah, Patrick knew this was going to happen," and Rafa was the man who ruined everything and scored a third. But these games are important to win. Sporting have been winning some games where it's looked almost impossible at times, frustrating games. Perhaps not. Benfica probably haven't done it to Sporting's degree yet, but it's still a difficult game. And at the end of the season, as the season goes on, these become important psychological barriers and to overcome. So vital that Benfica turn these difficult games around and clock up the points at a crucial point of the season. So, good for you guys.
I see the bit of salt there on the good for you guys.
A little salt?
No.
No. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to say, for him to be happy that we won this game.
I'm not delighted for you, obviously.
Well, I'm not delighted for you, Patrick.
Okay.
He goes both ways.
I can accept and expect that. Is what I will say.
All right. Well, I'm ready to hear Bruno's propaganda.
Are you ready?
No,
Yeah.
are we ever?
Sounds like he's loading a gun.
Do you have the
Oh my
Vaseline
god.
ready?
Is it okay. Okay.
Well,
Okay, but too far.
let's start off. Let's start with the first half. I mean, I think you guys both analyzed it well. Benfica had a very slow start, and I really thought that Bas Ferreira scored way too early. If they scored even later, the way they were frustrating Benfica, I would imagine that the game would have even been harder for Benfica to tie. It didn't happen that way. I mean, I really thought somewhere toward the end of the first half, you started to notice that Bas Ferreira started getting very tired, and eventually everything changed once the second half began. The second half began where Benfica was pressuring more. Bas Ferreira was getting even more tired, and then the thing that broke the camel's back, or the straw that broke the camel's back, was when Rui Vitória decided to put Raul Jimenez in, and he put a second striker. Once they put the second striker in, Bas Ferreira completely just broke down, completely broke down, and then eventually Benfica got the tying goal. Once they got the tying goal, I knew they were just going to win. It was just a matter of time. I always knew that, I said that Bas Ferreira was going to lose 2-0. Benfica was definitely better 2 goals than Bas Ferreira. But, I mean, a lot has to be said about the officiating. Ruben Valtudo, I don't know how he finishes this game. You smack around Ruben Micael, not once, or once.
Which is the dirtiest player in Portuguese history. That's why Benfica fans have a scale with Ruben Micael's name on it.
Why is he the dirtiest player?
Because he's the biggest asshole on the field. But anyway, you should know that. He was a poor player. No, but for real, like, Benfica fans have something called Escala Ruben Micael. And there's a reason for that. I
never even heard of this, but you're going to have to inform me off the air on that one because I have no idea what that means. So that's the first thing. I think Hattie doesn't get a yellow card on that one. I'm not sure. The whole thing, I saw the shows this past weekend, and they were complaining about the one on the corner where he's like pushing off and whatnot about with what's his name? Assis, I think his name is.
Oh, see,
from
my God, he had like at least 1 or 2 penalties, but whatever. That was the dirtiest. That was the most bullshit thing I've ever seen a coach do. And have the tiniest of guys with a guy that's double of his size. And not only was he not allowing, obviously Ruben Dias fouled him a couple of times. I'm not going to deny that. It's clear. But there's also a couple of times where he doesn't even care for the ball because he can't reach it. So he just intends on blocking Ruben Dias from getting to the ball. Yet, obviously, those plays nobody's going to mention. But those were also clear as day. Like, as I can say that Ruben Dias pushed him several times, which he did. There were also plays where he was being tugged and the siege wasn't allowing him to get to the ball, or he was just flopping around every time he got near him, so the referee would call a foul. I mean, that was obviously smart by the coach, but it was a dirty tactic because they had the guy that's double of his size, so obviously Ruben Dias was obviously going to be the biggest target on this and be the guy that's always fouling even when he's being fouled.
Well, I mean, that one I'm not going to say, oh, he deserved a yellow card or like that, because there's a lot of people that were saying that he deserved a yellow card for that. I mean, yeah, he pushed off the guy, but he's also trying to get into space. I mean, if you're going to give a yellow card for that, that's basically every corner kick in soccer that you're going to have to give yellow cards for because the guys are just trying to get loose. So I'm not going to blame him. The other one was the one on a corner where he falls on top of a siege and he kicks him in the face. That's he does that on purpose. I mean, that's a deliberate kick. That would have been another yellow card. This is the second game of in a row in which Ruben Dias, I don't know how he finishes the game. But that is the way it is. I mean, other than that, I think I'm gonna agree. Benfica was simply better down the stretch. Bas Ferreira is one of these candidates that's going to eventually potentially drop. They just don't have enough on their roster to compete with the team with the top 3 teams. What I don't understand is this Pedro Guerra that's coming on, and he's saying, "Oh, I don't understand how we struggle against this team, but Porto beats them 6-1." Does he kind of forget that we also tied with them away for the Taça da Liga? I guess he forgot about that, but that's a different story. And that's my analysis on this game.
All right. I'm just gonna say one thing, and I was talking to a Portista, and he was like, "Oh man, I did not like Renato Sanches, but when he played for the Seleção, man, I could see that he was a good player." And Ruben Dias is gonna be the same story. Everybody hates him. He's gonna get to the Seleção. He's gonna do well, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, he's actually a very decent player." I'm just waiting on that.
I don't think
I'm not denying his anger issues or whatever, or the fact that he fouls a lot, which he does. And he gets away with it a lot. Yes, he does. But he's still a very good player and has a terrific upside. And I think people are also trying to emulate what they were trying to do with Renato Sanches and just making a whole propaganda against him, basically, which I believe is the case.
There's propaganda in favor of taking him to the national team, and there's propaganda of how much how he is a dirty player. Listen, I've always said it before. You always need dirty players as defenders. That's what they do. They're there to frustrate the strikers, and they're trying to get in their heads psychologically and get them off their game somehow. It doesn't matter what it takes, but they're going to try to do it. Ruben Dias, in my opinion, José Font opened up the door for Ruben Dias to go to the national team for the World Cup, because once he transferred over from West Ham to whatever team in China, that's pretty much José Font saying sayonara to the national team. I don't think he's going to go.
Mm-hmm. I doubt it too.
So,
all right. Well, was that it on Benfica then?
That's all I got to say about that game. I don't know if you want to move on with anything else.
I'd agree as well with the situation. I think it's probably a little bit forced, but obviously there is a situation there. I think with Ruben Miguel, that Ruben Dias actually puts his hands in the player's face. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's typical of it's exactly what Matteo did to the guy.
Not exactly, but okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. Usually, when that gesture is made, for many refs, it doesn't really matter, like the force behind it. If the gesture is made, then it can be punishable.
Okay,
as I said last week, some referees give a straight red, and others will see the light of time and give a yellow. So perhaps he should have got a yellow for that or something.
He should have given a yellow card for both players, because Ruben Miguel was the one that initiated the contact.
For the corner, I agree. That happens so many times. Perhaps it warranted a warning between both players, not just directed at one. Both players to calm down, because obviously I did feel like the animations between the two players was quite a little bit over the top. But other than that, I think we used in Portugal. We're used to going into a sort of situation where we like to blow things a little bit out of proportion. That's sort of where we're at the moment. But Ruben Dias can prove me wrong in a few games time. But that's the situation I think we're at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna say, if either of those teams, I don't remember if you guys are gonna play Passos or not, but
we go there.
This is me asking you.
We go there. We go there soon.
If Assis plays, you pay attention to him, and you're gonna realize what I mean when putting the smaller guy on the bigger guy is actually better for the smaller guy, because he's gonna tend to get a lot more fouls even when they're not fouls. So it's just something for you to keep an eye out on.
I mean, I disagree with that. I disagree with that because there's times that the bigger guy is just going to win because he's just a bigger guy, and no matter how you try to draw a foul, eventually you're just going to get beat.
But
I
it's not
mean,
even the fact that you draw a foul; it's the fact that you're able to mask your own fouls and not allow the player to go for the ball, which happened in this game. And I'm telling you, if a Siege goes up against, I don't want to say Fleep or something, but a slightly smaller guy, he has the ability to stop him from going into those headers because the referees are probably gonna let him get away with it again. So
what I do
I'm
want to
just
say, I want to publicly thank Assis to say that he was said that he didn't want to go to Porto. He preferred to go to Braga. I'm so happy that you did that, my friend, because first of all,
yeah.
I don't think he has enough talent to play at Porto. That's my personal opinion. I don't even know if that rumor was true or not, but if it was, I'm so happy that he never came to Porto because he is just a Paz Freire type player. He's not even a Braga type player, and that's all I got to say about him.
Before we move on, can we agree that the red card that was handed out at the on that Jonas file that it's a red card?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because we didn't touch on that, so I just thought it was necessary. But okay, all right. Well, let's move on now then to the Porto game, a game where Porto won 5-1. A game that I stopped watching after 2-0, to be honest with you guys. I thought this game was done and dusted, and it was. Anyway, let me give you the lineup real quick. So it was Casillas in goal, Maxi, Felipe Marcano, and Diogo Dalot as the back four. Otávio, Sérgio Oliveira, Herrera, and Brahimi in the midfield, with Soares and Marega up front. And Bruno, much like Benfica started off the game against Portimonense, I thought Porto were pretty much the same, with very aggressive and trying to get that early goal. Obviously, if that free kick turns out to be a goal by Portimonense, could have been talking about a different game, but it wasn't, and Porto coasted home to an easy win.
Yeah, I mean, Portimonense definitely had the better chance at first, but against these teams, and I've said this in the Three Tugas podcast yesterday, um, it's very clear that Sergio Conceição's message to the team is against these small clubs, we got to score early, and it's not just one goal. We got to get 2 goals, and it's half management, half continue to look for more goals, because this league may come down to goals scored. And I think he's put that in the players' heads that they have to go after as many goals as possible. Even that last one, I think with I forget what game it was. I think it was against Rio Ave, where Brahimi could have had an opportunity for the 6th goal. He could have passed it off or whatever it was. Sergio Conceição just blew his lid on Brahimi because of that. This is how tight the league may come down to at the end of the season. But talking about this game, Porto had just completely dominated and just completely flatlined Portimonense very early. With those 2 goals, Portimonense had to do something different. They had to open up a lot more. You open up a lot more against a team with that much speed and that much power up front. You're going to start giving up more goals, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, this game was done very quickly, very early on, and unfortunately, we didn't score more because we could have.
All right. Well, I'm not going to talk more about the game. I spoke in the beginning, so the little that I saw. So I'm going to let Patrick go next and what I'm waiting on this game.
Yeah, I just want to say really that if we're looking at this performance, and I think Sergio Conceição would probably consider it, in his mind, in his preparation for the game, I think it would probably come out pretty close to perfection, because we had a Porto team that was super intense from the first minute. They got the goals pretty early, and by the end of it, ran out with 5 goals. Interestingly, all the goals came from crosses, but the variation was there. And I touched on it a little bit last week, that having Dalot at left back, it brings a different proposition. He's obviously decent on his left foot, but his main foot is his right. What that does do is open up. It opens up the ability for him to come in on his right and then whip in that cross, which is different for certain defenders to deal with. So it's what do you call it? It's obviously a shame that Tels is injured, but on a positive note for Porto, it brings something different to the play. Also, to touch upon what Bruno said, and it's a very important point that he makes about teams coming out early and scoring the goals. I think we've all, as fans of the major clubs, we've all experienced at some stage, even this season, where we're playing against a team and we don't have, it's 0-0 or we're a goal behind or something, and this like the team frustrates you, wasting time, and the fans get agitated, and it's almost like the perfect storm for these little teams, and for your team to drop points by the end of it. In those sorts of situations, it really does pay to go in. I know it's impossible to do it every single game, but if you can do that in as many games as you can, start with the intensity up at the hundreds, and get a goal or two early, then it makes life a lot easier for you, and that's what Porto ended up doing against Portimonense on Sunday.
Well, I want to touch on something. I also touched this on the podcast this week. The last three games that Porto has played, which was Chaves, Rio Ave, and now Portimonense, Porto scored early in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game. That gives a completely different type of emotional. You can manage your emotions much differently in comparison to, for example, a Sporting or a Benfica. Sporting has been leaving it late to win games, and that emotionally takes a toll on a team. I mean, yes, there's the emotional lift of, yes, we won, we got this win, blah, 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 but it was a 1-0 win. In my opinion, eventually, Sporting's going to come to a place where they're not going to get that late goal, that late winner, and they're going to drop points, and that dropping points might be the end of their season. Benfica has been playing somewhat like that as well, with the exception of the game against Boa Vista. I think eventually, and this is going to be a game in which I think that no one expects Benfica to lose points, is when they're actually going to lose points. And it could be.
Can I interject here real quick?
Go ahead.
You're saying that Porto is playing the best football, right?
Would you disagree?
Right? I'm just going to tell you that I was having a conversation with several Portistas, about 3 or 4, and we were all talking. And most of them were giving the edge right now that Benfica always seems to peak up at this time of the year, and that they're actually playing quite well, and that they're a threat. And for the first time in a very long time, I heard the Portista say that he doesn't believe that Porto can win at the Luz. And I don't think I've ever heard a Portista say that. So I just wanted to interject with that here real quick, just to tell. It's not my opinion,
but that's
other guys' opinion.
Right.
I just wanted you to chew on that.
That's one guy's opinion. I mean, if you look at the way Benfica played at the Estádio do Dragão, they played like a Passo Ferreira or a Tondela or something like that. They didn't really come out. They came out in the first 15 minutes, and then that was the end of them. They didn't do anything the rest of the game. They just sat back and they defended like a small team. Porto could have easily crushed them if the Marega goals went in. They didn't score. It happens. I mean, sometimes that does happen. But Porto could have crushed Benfica. Porto's been the best team against Sporting every time they played, and they only beat them once. I mean, and we're going to get to that in a minute about the Sporting game. But, I mean, Porto, in my opinion, by far is the best team in the league. I mean, look at the way they're playing. They're the top goal-scoring team. They're the top defense. I mean, they play very good soccer, very intense, and it's not just for a couple of minutes. Where are all those experts that said, Porto's going to eventually, they're going to break down and they're going to get tired and blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, we're basically in March, and we're still rolling. We had a little hiccup here and there, but that happens to any teams. Not every team can win every game, but they have been absolutely dominant every game this season against anybody we're talking about. There's not one team that you can say, they were more dominant than Porto in the league.
They were They were slightly lucky, and I would find it a little bit weird if you disagree that they got away with one against Tondela at their own place. Yes, they had a goal that was rightfully disallowed that would have given them the 2-0, but that was one game by the end of the game where Tondela was creating a couple of chances, and it wasn't a game where Porto looked exactly great. It looked one of those games where people were saying Porto are going to start slacking off a little bit, just get tired, and that game looked exactly like it. So if there's one game that I would point out, it would be that one. It wouldn't be one where you guys tied. That game against Nodell, where I felt you guys were really lucky to come out with a win on that game.
But that's only one game. I mean, you're gonna have a
I don't know.
bad
I was
game
just
every
telling
once in a
you.
while.
I was just telling you. You were asking me what one game where Porto wasn't dominant, and I told you one.
No, Porto was dominant. They just couldn't score that game. Don't forget.
I mean, what?
They weren't scoring.
It is what it
The
is.
goal, Claudio Ramos was having, one of those games where, again, we talk about this all the time. These small teams, their goalkeepers all of a sudden having a career game, saving everything that's thrown at them. But eventually, and that's what happened. Porto could have scored easily 4, 5, 6, 7 goals in that game. The goalkeeper just was the man of the match. He prevented a goleada. Or that was going to be a huge blowout.
Okay.
You might want to ask Cynthia.
It is what it is.
No, almost. If we have to keep talking about darn Porto scoring, yeah, I'm gonna fall asleep.
I think
they're
I
exciting.
think we're pretty much done. I'm not.
You should wear your blue velvet cuecas when they play.
Oh my god.
Maybe you should start. Maybe it'll be bad luck, Peter.
What do you mean? I already wear them.
Not you.
All
I
right.
said Peter.
Anyway.
Oh,
No
Peter.
one needs to know what you're
Can
wearing.
we move on out of this? Can we move out of this? I don't know what this is.
This is nasty, is what it is. Yeah, I want Patrick to tell me about Sporting and Moreirense.
All right. Yeah. So let's get into it. So Patrick, you got the lineup. Just do your thing.
Yeah. So to start off with, obviously, there was a few issues with a few injuries and a massive flu outbreak that obviously left Sporting a little bit worse for wear come kickoff. So lots of changes, 7 in total from the habitual 11 that Sporting usually put out. 3 of them were across the back, so Patricio in net, and we had Acuna drop back to left back with Coates, Andre Pinto next to him, and Battaglia was filling in at right back. So no Piccini or Ristovski for that game. Petrovic came in for his first start alongside Bruno Fernandes in midfield, and Sporting lined up with Brian Ruiz to the left, Gelson Martins to the right, and Seydou Doumbia and Freddie Montero in attack. So I think it's I'll touch on. Remind others of a little bit of what I touched on last week about the 4-3-3 versus the 4-4-2, and this time not so much about Freddie Montero not getting involved in the game as much as the 4-4-2 requires, but more so the fact that Sporting like to play a lot of their games, a lot of their play through the sides and through the fullback, the left winger, right winger, standard 4-4-2 stuff. And what Bas Ferreira did quite well in this game was obviously that they had enough men to cover in the middle and then double up and shut out our effectiveness out wide. And I think Sporting really struggled a little bit to get over that. But nevertheless, I still think Sporting were the superior side as the game went on. I think there was chances for us to score. Really, to me, it looked like a game where it could probably just be a matter of time before we fouled it. There was that chance for Brian Ruiz finds himself right in front of the goalie, and I don't know whether in his mind he thought he was offside and he just took it quickly. But he did so anyway, and he went straight into the goalie's grasp. It was obviously Brian Ruiz, by the way. I thought he had a great game, one of his best games in a long time. It was from him that he lays the ball over the defence and into Bruno Fernandes' path, and a player who 8-9 times out of 10 you expect him to score from there, and he blasts it over one-on-one with a goalie. And then there was obviously the diving header, which Andre Pinto was quite unlucky not to get on target and, who knows, maybe score. So I think the chances were there for Sporting to find themselves ahead, and it didn't come. Into the second half, there was a little bit of a scare, obviously. Through Bilal Sharia, I think that's his name. He scored, but obviously good old VAR was there. The VAR was there to disallow it. And to be honest, in my opinion, it's a handball, but someone inside my head was telling me that the referee was just going to accept it, because it wasn't. To me, I don't know. I just thought he wasn't going to deem the handball to be sufficient, but thank God he did anyway, and kept the score at 0-0. And then to me, it comes to the dominating aspect of the game, which was the red card. I think that was the pivotal moment for Sporting. Obviously, Petrovic has carried over a yellow card from the first half, and he attacks the byline with Dozer, I believe, and he doesn't make the challenge. In fact, Dozer is the one who puts his foot over Petrovic's, and he cons the ref basically, in my opinion. And the fourth official confirms that it should be a yellow card worthy, and Petrovic walks without even making contact with the player, which is unfair. Obviously, the VAR can't come into effect and help out the referee in this instant, because VAR only intervenes when it's a straight red. That's perhaps something that the VAR should alter in a situation like this, where clearly Petrovic should never in a million years be sent off for. And from that moment onwards, Sporting weren't able to grab the game as they'd like, and the chances just weren't being fashioned. The dominance wasn't quite there for us to take the lead. But thankfully by the end of it, and our light began to shine again, and it comes from our goal comes from a great bit of play from Rafa Leão, tearing through the middle. He lays it to Gelson with a bit of fortune. He finds a deflection to help his shot go in, and Sporting win, obviously. I'll come back to that red card and how difficult it was. From that point onwards, I can't put any blame on what we saw for the rest of the second half in terms of Sporting's performance. I was happy enough with the first half, and from that aspect, I'm happy to get the 3 points as well with it. I think I would have felt like we were done over if basically it had ended up 0-0, and the reason for that could have been the sending off of Petrovic. I would have felt upset.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say that I was on Twitter, and I honestly don't remember who said it, but someone said it, a Sporting fan said it, that they weren't impressed with Rafael Leão. And 5 minutes later, he ends up making a good play, although lucky, but still a good play, and gets the assist to the goal. So
yeah, I mean, what we'll find, and this isn't exclusive to any club, but obviously I see it more because I perhaps follow more Sporting fans, or I'm around more Sporting fans, but I think it's in general it's a Portuguese thing, or actually it's global. But when our team is losing, the utmost rubbish and idiotic attitudes start to come out, and I think anyone that comes away criticizing Rafael Leão after that game, knowing the circumstances, Sporting are down to 10 men, so our game as a team in general is completely kerfuffled. From that, anyone who comes away from that and can pick out players to criticise, it's something I can't truly take seriously. Obviously, we didn't go over the Gelson situation, which he was also on a yellow card, takes off his shirt and gets sent off. A lot of people were giving him bits for that. But
Yeah, he's a genius.
me personally, I look at it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, we got the goal thanks to him, and it's
So he got away with one? Is that what you're saying? Let him
no,
have that one?
because look, if we don't get the goal, what are we upset about going to Porto for? If we don't get the goal, we're 7 points behind Porto already.
So
So
then you got to beat them.
some people start making calculations that we're out of the title, but we got the goal, and it was in part thanks to him. Behind all that, he got his first yellow card doing. He had some long bursting run to try and prevent a player from scoring on the counter attack, where it was a fair yellow card. But as Peter,
I've seen a red. I've seen a red for that too.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it was worthy of a red. But
it was the Braga game, wasn't it, against Guimarães?
Exactly.
But that was never a red. That should have never been a red.
I know, I agree with you, but I was just saying.
And if the ref gives a red for that just because of the last game, then we're all doomed. But it's as you said. Sometimes players make good fouls and get good yellow cards. I'd class that as a good yellow card to get, because Sporting were outnumbered and Moreirense
For taking his shirt off, this is a good yellow?
No, he's talking about the
fouling.
Oh, okay.
For fouling before, and then obviously put yourself in put yourself in a player's shoes. It's very easy to say, "Oh, I wouldn't have done that," but you score a last minute goal and you take off your shirt and get a yellow card, which is a silly rule anyway, but it's there. I can't actually be fuming at Gelson for that, especially after scoring a winner. It is what it is. He'll miss the Porto game. He'll be missed. He's one of the best players in our team, or even in the league.
I just feel like that talk that you're having would be completely different if you guys were playing Benfica. But that's just me. That's just
no, not at all. I don't.
I'm not necessarily taking the shot at you, Patrick, because Sporting fans in general, I just don't believe that they're that upset, because they should be. Because I understand what you're trying to say, but at the same time, you won this game. Yay, great! But this win means absolutely nothing if you come away with 0 points against Porto, and you basically lost your best player, or both of your best players for this game. So,
your goal scorer for the last one to take you to a bit.
And obviously, Dost is our main goal scorer. Gelson is perhaps
your
our
best player,
attacker, or player.
But like you said, he saved your bum.
Player as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, but they're both quite even.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I don't look at it. I still look at Sporting, and I still see solutions there. We have a great squad. Otherwise, we wouldn't be Sporting fighting for the title at this stage alongside everyone else.
Patrick, you can't really. You also have to realize that you nicked two very lucky goals where you could have been out of the title race by now. So it's not like this team is exactly. And I personally believe that Sporting actually has the best squad, but this team is looking like they're title contenders at this point. Like they're. I'm not sure.
Yeah, as I said, I wouldn't consider this one particularly lucky, because we were very unlucky to be down to 10 men and find ourselves in that situation anyway. So it's a bit like a seesaw, you know what I mean? It either is or it isn't. Obviously, the Tondela one, it was a lucky escape. That's the definition of a lucky escape for me. But it happens, and I think things could have. In that Tondela game, it could have been different. It could have been Tondela scoring, and we're in even worse, in an even worse state. But things worked out our way, and we have to use this as fuel.
Though? At what cost?
But I don't. But obviously, we have to look at it this way. We've had tricky games, and we've overcome them. We have to look at the fact that we've overcome them, and hope and believe that, because we're a good side, we will have games where we will be the more dominant team, and we have to believe that starts against Porto, and we have to, we have to think now is when we're going to start winning our way. Obviously, no one likes to win in the last minute, but we did. We'll take it, and now we can look ahead and start playing on our terms. It will start, and that's what this is the point I'm going to argue. If we go into the preview of the Porto game, we're going there to win on our terms.
Now,
Okay,
the only thing I want to rebuttal that before we all start getting into it, you're going to Porto. So you've mentioned that it's tricky games. You've won other tricky games. The last 2 games you've had, you won on extra times, and they were lucky to me. I thought they were lucky because, I mean, fucking Benfica doesn't do that. We got to either win during the time or finally there might be one, but fuck's sakes. You guys are getting much luckier than us. But like Porto, this is not a game to be, half-fassing it. Oh, it's tricky. No. It's fucking Porto in Porto.
Yeah, but I don't.
It's the trickiest of the trickiest games.
This is you looking straight into the asshole. Like, this is bad.
Look, Porto are our top side, and I'd agree with Bruno when he says they're the best footballing side at the moment. Not by as much as they say, but to me, Porto are the best team. But they are the best team playing at the moment. But that doesn't faze me at all, because at the end of the day, Sporting are a big team. We are in the title race, and on its day in a big game, it's like a final. Yeah. When you go into a final, sure, there are your favourites, and Porto are the favourites coming into this game. But the other team has solutions as well, and if the situation is right, then that team can win. I believe Sporting has more than a good chance of coming out victorious on the day, and it doesn't matter if obviously playing at Alvalade would be better than playing at the Dragão marginally, because you've got the support behind you and all that. But between those 4 lines, if the situation is right and your team can take it, it will take it. Porto have lost at the Dragão to Sporting before, to Benfica before, and teams below that. So it's not new.
I'm letting everybody know, and I've told people this season, I don't like this coach. This coach freaks me out, and it bothers me the way he gets Porto to play for them. And so I hope it's entertaining. And I know you're saying all these great things. You really are. Like, I like where your head's at and everything, but Porto's a fucking a thing to be reckoned with right now. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God. I don't want to say a force because they're already so full of themselves, but dear God.
So when Benfica go there, what will the attitude be?
Exactly. We got to put on our fucking eagle talons. I know. But you're not my team.
Okay, hold on. No, what we're getting all mixed up. Listen, if Benfica's mentality going against Porto should be press on and try and get a goal, and I think Sporting are going to set back and defend. But honestly, I really just want to listen to Bruno, because I'm pretty sure that he's been waiting on the wings to say something, because I think I'm going to be on his side when he starts talking, because
oh my God,
I honestly just don't agree with the fact that Sporting can go into the Dragão and be confident that they can get anything out of it without both of their best players. But Bruno, I don't know, you start weighing in on this.
So we're not gonna talk about Moreirense, because I think
if you want to talk about the game,
Patrick did an excellent job in analyzing it, and I agree with him 100%. Listen, in this particular case with Porto versus Sporting, I said this again on the podcast prior. Porto has an excellent chance to do a couple of things. One, they have the game at home against a rival. Two, they have the opportunity to kill the rival's chance at winning any type of league title with a win. 3, Sporting is not playing the greatest right now. Their best player, or their 2 best players, are doubtful that they're going to play. I still strongly believe, I don't care if Bas Dost is at 1% or 100%. He's going to play, he's going to start, and they're going to do everything possible to feed him the ball. Do I believe that Sporting is going to come out and attack? No. Cableda is going to sit back. He's going to play with 5 defenders. He's going to look to at least come out with the draw, and he's going to hope that Porto slips along the way and Sporting continues to win out for him to make a move to first place. That's the way he plays. And if you watch Cableda's teams all throughout his career, especially at Benfica, this is the time where they always seem to break down the most. Players are tired, they're exhausted, they're hurt, emotionally they're spent, and then he looks down on the bench and he like, wow, I really don't trust that guy. I don't trust that guy. I don't trust that guy. They're fresh, but he will not play them. He will rather run a guy that he trusts into the ground more than he gives a guy that like I was shocked that Petrovic played, and he only played because there was all these other guys that had the flu. Other than that, he wouldn't play. And now, even though he got a wrongful,
and because they had other guys like Misic that were there that came in January because that's the only reason he played.
But hold on a second. I mean, you asked for these guys and you don't play them. Makes no sense. In my personal opinion, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. What happened with Ruben Ribeiro that he couldn't play?
No, Sporting were well. They were okay on the wings. They had obviously different options.
But hold on a second.
Midfield is where
he's Ruben Ribeiro could play at 10. He can play 10. He can play wing. He can play a lot of different positions.
Yeah, but obviously Sporting opted to play two strikers on the day. I think Ruben Ribeiro, out of all the winter signings, is the one that's played the most alongside Freddie Montero. He hasn't played well of late.
They want to get a couple other guys. Wendell hasn't even played.
I mean, the best thing that Sporting could argue, or JJ could argue, is that he's been saving Ruben Ribeiro to play against Porto because, to be honest, he's probably their best chance of coming away with something. Alongside Bruno Fernandes, obviously, but I think those would be the difference makers for the team. I just don't see anybody else, man.
Well,
I honestly. I think that, like I said, if Porto comes in to destroy Sporting in the first 20 minutes, they're going to have a lot of success, and Porto's going to win this game. But it all comes down to, are they going to be able to score a goal? Because remember, they were dominant the last couple of games, and they couldn't put them away.
And do you guys have no strikers?
Who?
Porto has no strikers.
Well, they're saying that Suarez and Abubakar are not playing.
No.
There is rumors that Abubakar is going to play. He's already fit to play.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how true that is, but I'm just saying that that's a rumor. They're saying that Suarez is hurt.
I heard the front three is gonna be Otavio, Marega, and Brahimi. So
it's very possible. Yeah, I wouldn't deny that, but in Otavio on the wing, he's good. He's strong. He's a strong player on the wing. He can come on the inside and he can create a lot of damage to the inside. I mean, don't forget we got Juarez and we got Paciencia. Juarez is a different type of player. He's very fast. He's very mobile, moving from the outside in. That is his strength, and he's got a terrific shot. Versus Paciencia is more of an area. And I wouldn't be surprised if Conceição uses Paciencia, because Sporting is going to sit back. If you think that they're not, you're insane. And he's going to put a guy like Paciencia in the middle where he's going to hold on to the ball and they're going to play off of him. And I see that happening.
I'm not so sure Sporting will sit back, though, because we have to look at it realistically. And if we're to go by just basic logic, the teams that are most likely to beat Porto and reduce that 5-point advantage that they have down to 0 again are Sporting and Benfica. And to do that, they have to both Benfica and Sporting have to go in to the Porto game and think, right, we've got to win. Ideally,
you keep on saying, hold on a second, you keep on saying that Benfica is going to Porto. Porto actually goes to Benfica.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, when they meet up.
But one thing, if you're Benfica, is that you're playing at home and you're like, we have to beat Porto. You're playing away and you have to beat Porto, but Porto also have to beat you, because if they beat you, you're virtually out of the title race.
Yeah, I know, but obviously, Sporting have to. I believe we will go in there with a little bit of caution, because obviously, if we lose, like people will start saying, that's it for us. And obviously, if we draw, then
Yes.
things are still the same, and there might be a hiccup elsewhere for Porto to have. But I think mentally, Sporting will go there and they'll balance things. They will go there to be competitive, and they will look to try and get something.
I
I'm
don't
not
think so.
expect. I'm not
I think
expecting us.
Sporting are going out there to get a tie, and that's it. Let's
No, I
get
don't
out of
think
here.
so. I don't think so, and I definitely don't think we'll play five at the back either. We used five at the back last time, and between Sporting and Porto, that was the only game that we lost, wasn't it? So,
It was, but it wasn't
I'm
like you guys
if he does
deserved to
if
beat them
Jesus
at
does that,
home.
I'm curious to see the reaction. Yeah, obviously, I felt we caused different kinds of problems with the wing backs on the day. Ironically, we ended up losing. We haven't played well enough though to suggest that we'll use it again. We have to. To me personally, I go into that Porto game and I play with three across the midfield, uh, two additional wingers and a lone striker. I think Sporting they have to be combative. That's because that's what Porto are going to do to us. That's what they've done all season. They come to bully you and rush you, and it's 100-mile-an-hour football at times,
I
and we
just
have
think
to
you're
be
saying
ready
all
for
the
that.
right
We've
things.
struggled.
I think you're saying all the right things, but I just don't see any of it happening. If you know what I'm saying.
JJ
Like,
is a
Okay, yeah.
stubborn old man, and we had
But
him, and we had these games, and he did not do these things. So
my
that's
preference
where
is
Pete's coming from.
my preference. I do think he could do that. I would be disappointed if, for example, he packs the midfield and leaves Bruno Fernandes, who's in my opinion, one of our best players, and he leaves him out on the right. I think we still need to follow the mantra of playing your best players in your best positions. And when the time comes, as I said, I'm expecting surprises. I'm expecting possibly one of Suarez and Abubakar to be fit and ready, and a bunch of other
to
guys
be
on the
honest with
Sporting
you guys, the
side.
biggest surprise I think you're gonna see is Ricardo Pereira, because
Yeah, could
I'm
be.
hearing
Yeah,
rumbles of Ricardo
I'm
Pereira being
expecting
fit
it.
to play that game.
It's a very Portuguese thing to play with. To play with. Oh, this guy is injured, and then on the day he pops up and he's ready. They play. Portuguese managers tend to play a lot with um,
The
those
psyche of the
kind
game.
of smoke screens.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm expecting a bunch of players ruled out at the moment to on the day to come forward, and especially on the Sporting side. That's why.
That's what I was
That's why I
gonna
think
say.
I still think Sporting with some of those players coming back, primarily William and I think Dost could squeak in there. Primarily those two, and Piccini
Don't
as well.
forget Quintrão.
I'm not too fussed about him coming back. To be honest, I think
Really? Okay.
no, I
No,
think he's had
that's
a great
fine.
season, but I just think coming to the Dragão, he's not. I don't think Quentin's played that well lately, so I'm not sure to what extent we're not better off playing Acuna at left back and finding another solution out on the left. But if he's back, he comes in, preferably. But I'm just saying it's not. To me, it's not on the same level as getting a William back or a Piccini back or a Dost back. But I'm hoping those three players do come back fit and ready, and that's the point I'm getting at. These are quality players. These are players that are worthy of coming together and beating any team anywhere in the country, and that's what I'm expecting Sporting to do. To come out there, line up, hopefully, in a 4-3-3, in a manner in which we can be combative, uh, uh, and look Porto eye in the eye and challenge for the ball in midfield. I think we lost that these past few games. That's been our weakness. Is in that battle in midfield, and if you can control the battle in midfield, more often than not, you're going to control the game. We need to play more I wouldn't say compact isn't the right word, but we need to be a little bit more gelled together, and repel Porto's unity. But I think that's the best way for Sporting to come out on top in this game, and I believe we can do that. We've got quality players, and all the minerals are there for Sporting to do that, and hopefully, in my come out with a win.
What do you think the goal line's going to be then?
1-0. 1-0.
1-0?
Yeah, 1-0.
For Sporting, obviously.
Yeah.
Who's going to be your goal scorer? Not Gelson.
Dumbia.
He does a lot of goals.
I don't know.
I got my trust on Dumbia getting his first league goal. If anyone's going to score at Atletico, it's going to be Dumbia, because I was hearing those Porto fans trash him, saying that he's worse than Marega. And, if one thing that can hurt Porto is Dumbia's pace, and I think if he has a chance, he's going to bury it. So I'll answer you.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing. Certain games, there are certain big games where obviously you expect Sporting to balance their ethos a bit, and for them to come out a bit more retreated and pick their chances on the counter. So you can't really counter with Bastos, can you? And you can with Dumbia. Obviously, the downside to Dumbia is he's not as clean a finisher as Dost is. But even with Dumbia missing so many chances, there's just something that I like about him. Like the chances come for him, and
See, this is where me and Patrick agree.
I can see Dumbia.
No, I do.
Perhaps tucking one away, or I'm not sure. I don't discard him as an option at all. I know a lot of Sporting fans don't like him just because he misses chances, but the good thing is that he attracts those kinds of chances, and sometimes it will work out for him. So that's why I don't discard him. We've had some trash strikers over the years. Too many trash strikers, like Castaños. He doesn't score, and he gets one chance every 5 months. That's just how out of the game he can be. So.
All right. I thought you were spot on, Patrick, but I honestly just think that that's not going to go the way that you're hoping. But I honestly want to see.
That's your opinion.
What else Bruno has to say, because he's been really quiet and we're running low on time now. So
I was listening very closely to what Patrick's saying, and he's telling some good stories there. That's for sure. He's got a lot of hopes and dreams, but there's a lot of ifs. If you listen to Patrick, he used the word if a lot, and I'm gonna base mine more on past form. Sporting hasn't looked good, and I really think that Porto has a chance to hit the knockout blow on Sporting. And if you have a chance to eliminate a rival immediately, that's what you do. And you put them right out of the race, and you play them at home. So you do it at home, you knock them out, and the rest is history. And I think Porto has to. I don't care who's playing. They have to come out hungry. They have to come out looking for goals in the first 20 minutes. They have to force Sporting to open up. If Sporting opens up, it's going to be a long, long day. And, Porto could come away with a big, big win.
What's your goal line?
I said on the podcast on 3-2 goals, I said 3-0, and I'm going to stick to it, 3-0.
You
are mean. Peter, what's your...
I'm not mean.
I know. I'm just saying.
I see things going 3 different ways, but 2 of them way more plausible. I see Porto either winning big. I see Porto tying the game 0-0, like Bruno said, or I see Sporting knocking out you know what? And I'm gonna be different just because that's JJ's scoreline. It's Sporting coming out with a 2-0 win. But I see the first 2 way more likely to happen than the latter. So I don't know. It's what we're hearing Patrick, and agreeing with Bruno is that he's telling a lot of stories, but I just don't think things are going to go that way, because you're all kind of discrediting the fact that Porto are playing at home with the chance of putting Sporting away out of this race, like for good, because the Sporting getting back 8 points. I mean, Benfica trying to get back 5 has been ridiculously difficult. Imagine 8. It's basically
It's not
impossible,
8.
right?
It's not
So
8, Peter.
it would be 9. It
Peter,
would
it's
be
not going to
9.
be 8.
Yeah, it would be 9. It would be
Yes,
9.
it's
I know.
9.
So
So
it's I just I just don't see Porto letting that opportunity slip. That's it.
What I will say is that the past won't play for you on Friday. Friday is a new day.
Haha, there it is.
No, he's got a
and
good point, but it's not the pat. Whatever.
yeah, but listen, as much as you say Sporting are lucky to be as close as they are, if we look at the Tondela game, when we look at the Moreirense game, as I said, when you go certain teams, when they go a man down, it's totally different. That's the response that you're going to get is basically not even like what you would get
Right, but
on
to
a
be
normal
fair,
day, and
but to be
that's
fair,
what
you
we got to
guys,
keep in mind.
against Tondela weren't being exactly the best of teams, even with 11 men. Unlike the
And
Moreirense
and
game,
then
where you guys were
obviously,
being superior, right? But against Tondela, you guys weren't producing that much with 11 men,
I think we still produced enough to.
and you
I
missed
still
those
think we
chances.
produced. Yeah, we missed them, but on another day, that's the thing. On another day, you score them, and on other days we have scored them. And with regards to Sporting playing poorly against Porto, obviously what you got to hope for is that you use those games, and Porto will look into those games as well, because there are lessons to be learned for each of the two teams. Sporting didn't play well, and they'll have to improve. But Porto will also have to look at those games and think, right, we didn't put them away, and there were chances for Sporting in some of those games to put Porto away. So it goes both ways. You know what I mean? So there are lessons with regards to the past. There are lessons in both games for each team to take away. And, all that matters is what comes on Friday and who can adapt to the situation best. And it's with that in mind, with Friday being a completely new occasion, that I'm expecting Sporting to. Well, I'm not expecting, but I believe that Sporting can surprise many people.
I
Right.
mean, I'm going to say, hold on. I have to say something. Like, I really like what Cynthia said because
What did I say?
you're not the first one has said that about Sergio Conceição and the way he motivates his
Oh,
team.
I fucking hate that guy. I gotta tell you.
And
He
let me tell you
freaks me.
something. He brings that old Porto mentality from back in the day. When you have an opportunity to step on your opponent's throat, you're gonna kill him right there.
Go for
And
the
if you're
jugular.
if you go and like now, I'm gonna say this too. Porto has played up until all the big Clásicos. They've been playing very well. They were dominating. They were destroying teams, etc., etc. And then when they got to the game, they didn't perform as well as they should have in recent games. But obviously, you're not playing like a Shabs. You're playing a Sporting.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe, though, this is the game. No matter who plays, he's going to have his team so amped up because he's not going to think about Tuesday. Tuesday is whatever. They're talking about one game. This is one opportunity. This is your first championship final. You knock out this team. You put them away. You put them to sleep today. And if we could put Sporting to sleep, the only thing that Sporting really has to play is for second place. And then I think that with Benfica having to go to Stadio Alvalade and they have to host Porto, I think that's where Benfica is eventually going to slip away. Because I don't think that Benfica is going to go playing home the way they did last year with Rui Vitória or the 2 years with Rui Vitória with Porto. Porto was the better team at the Estádio da Luz in both games. So I think that's the way things are going to go regardless.
Now you're telling some nice stories.
Yeah, now you're telling
No,
some
those
nice
are
stories.
facts.
But anyway, I think we need to wrap it up. So Bruno shared his point of view. Thinks Port's gonna win 3-0. Patrick believes in
1-0 for Sporting.
Sporting, 1-0 win. I see three different outcomes, so I'm not going to weigh in because I honestly can't. It really depends how the game goes. And Cynthia, you're the only one missing, then we can give out the Benfica predictions.
Taking everything everybody has said, Patrick's right. It's footy. It depends whoever has a good day. And then, again, remembering, yes, Porto play like dragons, and then they get into these ones with us or with Sporting, and they play like baby dragons. So if we see baby dragons, regardless, I think it's going to be like a 1-1 or a 2-2. I think it's going to be a tie.
But the they could have played like baby dragons, but they were still the better team of all the games.
Well, you're going to play a lion, so suck it up, Buttercup.
That's what o Cabeleira says. Cabeleira says that eles são autênticos leões. Isso é tudo conversa de chacha.
All right. Well, let's
Speaking of the man, I just want to leave a personal message to Jorge Jesus if he's listening.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? JJ, you're an asshole.
No.
Well, he stopped listening. You stopped listening right now.
Sorry.
Obviously, Gelson's out, and as many of you have said, he's going to be a big miss. Sporting will lack that pace. I'm just saying, there's a kid who's 19 years old, has been playing a few minutes of late, called Rafael Leão. He's got an apt name to be a Sporting hero on the day. He's the man. He's the man left with the pace, and if you put him up against a younger mind, who I think is a great player, by the way, don't get me wrong, who's Diogo Dalot, but I just think it opens up an opportunity for an interesting dispute there, and I hope Jesus places his bets on Rafael Leão on the night.
We all know Bruno says is going to be the one playing, but I appreciate you.
Oh God, Bald.
I appreciate never know. You're taking. You're keeping up the high hopes.
There was a few seasons ago when Jorge Jesus unleashed Mateus Pereira against Porto, wasn't it? So Jesus loves surprises on big occasions. So we'll see.
He also likes to what's the word that I scapegoat players. So
yes, he
that would
does.
also be bad for Leão.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. I appreciate your idea, and your idea is
to be honest. I just want it to be entertaining and a good game. I don't want on next Wednesday when we do the pod, I don't want it to be, oh my God, it should have been this card, it should have been that. I want it to be clean. I want the VAR to work.
And please, no more 50-plus fouls.
Oh my God. Well, it's Porto, so it's going
But we had 50-plus fouls on the last game of the Taça da Liga, so please, no 50-plus fouls game. Please, that was the worst. But yeah, I agree with you, Cynthia. Very well played out game. That's what I want to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's give out the Benfica predictions and we can get out of here. I'm tired as hell. But
we
anyway,
host Marítimo. That's regardless. We host Marítimo on Saturday at 1:15.
Yeah, so I give Benfica a 3-0 win. 3-0, I guess. Cynthia.
I'll say a 2-0.
Okay, Patrick.
I'll have to say 3-0 as well.
And Bruno.
I think it's going to be relatively easy. We all know that Carlos Pereira has said it in the past that he'll never do anything to stop Benfica from being champion. So
it's never just the numbers. There's always
there's always something. But anyway,
5-0.
Okay, 5-0. Okay, I hope you're right. For the good of
That's
Benfica.
a Porto scoreline there, buddy.
Yeah. I can't believe you just said that, Cynthia. Did you let that sink in, what you just said?
Because they always do. Like the last couple of games has been 5-1 or 5-0. Come on,
let that sink in. You're trying to say that 5-0 is the Porto scoreline. You should let that sink in and maybe remember what happened. What happened like 5 or 6 years ago at the Dragão. But anyway, I'm gonna. You know what, guys? I think we're gonna.
You've lost your mind. You done?
No, yeah. You just made me think of the 5-0 loss we had at the Dragão. So I mean, it's not exactly pleasant. But anyway,
we'll think of red velvet cake. You'll be okay.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a good way to cheer the mood up. Unbelievable. Anyway, so we'll see you guys next week. We're gonna be discussing, obviously, with the larger portion of the podcast, the Classico, and chip in a few minutes on the Benfica game. All right. So thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Cynthia, for coming out today. This has been the Tiki Taka Podcast, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.